Every grain has a story to tell, and it's up to you to tell it.
Hey, if you're looking for some ideas for some nice holiday projects that are super easy to build, I'm going to show you how to build two projects using this 3 3/4 inch squared piece, and we're only of pine, and we're only going to use 15 inches of it to build both of these projects. Now, these are decor projects, so we don't need to worry about using fancy woods, and we're probably going to paint them. For our first project, we're going to be cutting this into 3 pieces, and we're going to be making a wood snowman just like this. Now, this one's going to be pretty simple, and we're going to take our beam and we're going to cut it into 3 pieces, each one being a bit of a different dimension than the last. So we're going to start with our first piece being 3 1/4 inches long, which we're going to cut on our miter saw. And so we're actually going to cut 3 pieces at 3 1/4 inches, and then we're going to trim 2 of them down from there. So this here is going to be the bottom of our snowman. So this one is going to stay like this. We want this block to be narrower on both sides right here. So we are going to take an inch off here and an inch off here. And I'll actually measure that out. So that way we're going to be a little bit smaller. And actually, sorry, we're going to take off 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here. So it's a total of an inch smaller than this. On the last one for the top, we're going to take an inch off all sides. So it's going to be 1/2 inch smaller than this one. So I thought that a safer way to do this, rather than try this on the miter saw because it's so close, is we're going to split the cut and we're going to run it through our table saw. I'm going to use my micro jig on top here to hold it down. I'm going to use my other push stick in behind it to help keep that pressure. And let's see how this does. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that our table saw was the safer way to go. So what I did is our bottom one is 3 3/4 inch square. I cut this one down to 3 inches. Now we're going to take our last block, very similar on the table saw, and we're going to trim it down to maybe 2.5 inches or so. So now that we've cut our second block to 3 inches square, which is 3/4 inch less than the bottom, now we're going to cut the top one to 3/4 inch less than this. So that means our top one, we're going to square it at 2 1/4 inches square. So now with our top 2 pieces, we took 3/4 inch off either side. To make them look a little bit more symmetrical for this snowman, we're going to go ahead and also take 3/4 inch off of the height. There we go. Now here's a couple things that are entirely up to you. So I took this top piece for the snowman and I cut it on a 20-degree angle. And here's the reason why. I've got one of the cut off pieces that we're going to secure on here like this. And this is going to start forming the base of the hat. And then I had a little piece of birch sitting out by my fire pit. So I've cut a piece of that off and we're going to secure that kind of like this to give it kind of a top hat look for this snowman. So we're going to secure these together and we're going to secure these together. And we're going to do it separate because we're going to end up painting them separately and then we're going to glue them together. Okay, so we're going to set this aside and let it dry. I really like this birch bark on here, so we're going to leave this natural. We're going to get this painted black, and then we're going to glue that right onto it and go from there. All right, so while we're waiting for these to dry, the glue, the paint, all that stuff, I've got a piece of 1/8 plywood. We're going to take this, we're going to draw a nose on it, we're going to draw some eyes, and then we're going to get those cut out so we can paint them and then get them glued on afterward too. All right, so there's our nose. All I did, trace the base of my Pica pencil here, and then drew a line right down to a point. Use the bandsaw to cut this out, but you can use a jigsaw, scroll saw, all kinds of different stuff. All right, so we've got the pieces for our snowman all dry, all painted up, and we're going to put them together. Now, I changed a couple of things. So, first of all, we're not going to be painting this black. I like the white. That's going to be kind of a nice accent on top. We've got our nose that we're going to put on, and I used a fluorescent orange paint because that's the only one I had. However, because this top block is so small, instead of actually using the wood eyes, because they're going to be a little bit too big, we're actually just going to do it with a Sharpie marker, or you could do it with some black paint as well. It's entirely up to you. So with that said, let's go ahead and put this together. We're going to use a little bit of wood glue, and we're also going to use some of the CA glue with some activator to kind of help speed up the process a little bit. And yeah, let's get this put together. Now we are actually going to repurpose these. What we're going to do is these are going to become the buttons. And there we have it. It's almost done. As you can see here, the white, I actually was very surprised. It's a fast dry spray paint that I used, but it was actually still a little bit tacky when I put this on. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to touch this up with some black acrylic paint to make it stand out that much more. But a super easy snowman with a little bit of style and everything. All right, so for our next project, we're going to do what you've probably seen a lot of already, but we're going to kind of put our own spin on it. And so we're going to make a holder for candles just like this. These ones are battery operated, but you can certainly get other ones that are actual candles. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take another chunk of this 3 3/4 inch squared pine beam. We're going to cut off about a 5-inch length, and then we're going to drill out a hole using this great big massive Forstner bit that happens to be 1/8 of an inch bigger in diameter than this candle here. And we're going to do a little bit of work on the router table with it to give this candle holder some style. So let's get into it. Okay, so we've got our 5-inch mark here. So we're going to go ahead, give this a cut, and then move on to the next part. There we are. Okay, so we're at our router table here. I've got this bit right here with my depth gauge set to 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to cut it all around the sides here. And we're going to do that 1, 2, and 3 inches down. So we're going to have those 3 sets going all the way around. So put on our hearing protection. Let's give it a go. All right, so there we go. We've got some a few lines cut here. And this is just for a little bit of style. We're not going to put anything around the bottom because we're going to decorate around the bottom a little bit differently, but I will show you. Next, we're going to drill this hole here. We're going to find the center and we're going to drill it in probably about 1.5 inches. That's really all we need. Now, because I only have a benchtop drill press, the size of this drill bit plus the height of this is actually too big for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp this on its side on my bench. I've already got the hole started. I'm going to clamp it on the side, and then we're going to drill it in this way. And let's see if it actually holds enough for us to hog some material out. Okay, so hogging it out with using a hand drill, it's definitely a little bit of work. Thankfully, it's pine. I honestly don't know if I'd be able to get the same results if I was using a hardwood. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these. If you don't have any of these, I highly recommend it because you can put these right into a drill. Now you've got a portable drum sander. So super amazing. We're going to use that to clean up the inside a little bit. Then we're going to go and use the other sander here, the belt sander, and then we're going to get these sides kind of sanded up and then a little bit in the grooves by hand, and then we're almost done on this project. All right, mask on. Let's give it a whirl. Look at that. We're actually pretty smooth on the inside here now because we're going to be filling it up. I think that's pretty damn good. So let's get the outside done. If you haven't got one of these, I highly suggest you do. Notice I had it lipped over the edge. That way it pushes into that groove and kind of curls up a little bit. So we're gonna put this back on. We're gonna give it one more little go just around the edges. Let's help kind of soften them up a little bit. We're gonna do the same thing at the top. And then we'll get to the finishing part. To finish this, we're going to apply some of our tried and true linseed oil and beeswax. So we've got it all covered. Let that sit, come back and wipe it off. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Again, they are very simple and you can finish them any way you want. This one I put some garland around. And this one here, I think I'm actually going to have my daughter who knits and crochets. She's going to make actually a little scarf for this guy. So you can finish them however you'd like, but they're super easy to make and they don't take very long. And if you want to see some behind the scenes stuff, head on over to Patreon, search up Timber Designs. I've got a bunch of videos posted there too that are not posted on YouTube about just random things that are going on around the shop. Now, don't forget to like the video and share this with other people. If they could do these projects too, I think they're super cool. They're super awesome. Until next time, happy cutting.